In the recent third wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, among the new tracks introduced to the game by Nintendo is the London Loop circuit from Mario Kart Tour. I've never played Tour, so I hadn't seen this course previously. From what I understand, the Deluxe version is basically an upscaled port, so I guess this will apply to both versions. I know London pretty well, having lived there for 5 years, and even today I'm a regular visitor to our nation's capital, so I thought I'd be ideally placed to take a deep dive into London Loop and give those of you who perhaps don't know London so intimately an idea of what they've got right and where they utilised a little creative licence. If you think there's anything I've missed, please do let me know in the comments. Let's get started. At first glance, I was actually surprised at the extent to which Mario Kart attempts to accurately show major London landmarks relative to one another. Obviously it's an extremely condensed version, but you can look up the river from the London Eye and see the City of London, which for those of you out of the loop is distinct from the London metropolitan area, and it's even correct that you can't see Tower Bridge from this part of London because of the bend in the River Thames, so kudos to Mario Kart here. In addition, all of the landmarks appear to be on the correct side of the river. The Palace of Westminster, where Parliament sits, is pretty close to the London Eye as depicted here, City Hall is right next to Tower Bridge, and as you'd expect, the course has the famous red phone boxes and post boxes dotted around to give it that distinctive London charm. I was also genuinely surprised at how good the Leadenhall Market section is. It's a small part of the course, but it's really lovingly brought to life. The bars really do have barrels outside acting as makeshift tables for customers to perch their drinks on. All in all, for what this is, I think it's a pretty decent whistle-stop tour of major London attractions. That being said, there are a few things I think could use attention, and I'd love to see a re-release someday incorporating some of these ideas to really generate an authentic London feeling. The first thing that catches your eye as you pull away from the line is a sign for a cafe. Now, right off the bat, this is all wrong. Independent coffee shops are being squeezed out of the marketplace across the UK, even in London. This should be a Pret, which by law must be accessible to all Londoners within 2 minutes. As a result, a Pret has now been established every 28 metres on every street in the capital. Next up, one thing you'll notice is all these happy smiling faces. Unfortunately, again, this is incorrect. It is considered the height of rudeness to make any noise or appear to be happy in London. The only socially acceptable expression of joy is to throw your beer over those around you when England score a goal against Iran. Turn that upside down frown back down, Toad. A true story, I had a bicycle for about 6 months when I lived in London. Here's a picture of it. I was staying at a friend's flat for about 3 weeks before a new rental property became available for me to move into. His building had an underground, gated garage area with bike lock stations requiring a fob or key code for entry, with 24-hour CCTV and a security guard. The bike was stolen after 10 days. These things have no... Are they even locked up? This is presumably an Uber Eats or Deliveroo driver picking up an order and should be marked accordingly. Now here outside Buckingham Palace there should be a gaggle of sycophantic, monarchy-obsessed weirdos waving little flags in the vain hope of catching a glimpse of a member of the royal family, even though this won't happen. Ideally there should also be a TikToker staging a video in which they pretend to enrage a guard who then assaults them so that they can get clicks for their horribly acted video. I was going to do a bit here about how the benches should be made so that they're more hostile to unhoused people, ensuring they can't sleep on them, but they have actually done that and got it spot on, so good job, Mario Kart. Okay, next up, the British Museum. A nice representation of the building, but the architect of austerity and chair of the museum, George Osborne, should be stood outside cackling evilly, laughing at his own refusal to return looted treasures from the UK's barbaric colonial history to their countries of origin. Now, I must admit, I'm not sure where in the track this should be incorporated, but I do think that the omission by Nintendo of the grotesque wealth inequality in London, which I can only assume is deliberate whitewashing, is something that needs addressing urgently. Due to the capitalism worshipping Tory government that has inexplicably retained power for over 12 years now, and the neoliberal politics of the preceding 30 years since Thatcher came to power in 1979, London is a city of fantastic wealth, hoarded by an extremely wealthy few at the expense of its working class. Poverty is on the rise, driven in no small part by parasitic buy-to-let landlords who have created a scarcity of housing and lined their own pockets while keeping tenants in a poverty trap they cannot escape. The looming towers of the City of London and distantly Canary Wharf do serve as an ever-present reminder of the unimaginable greed that exists in the city, but it would be great to have more explicit reminders such as food banks for those in work on the final corner, or a Tory politician crushing a nurse under their boot as an apt visual metaphor. So there's my deep dive into London Loop, which I hope you enjoyed. What elements of London culture would you like to see added to the course, perhaps in a future patch? Let me know in the comments, and see you next time.